I'm just not seeing it happen. You know what I'm saying?
No, not at all.
Unfortunate. Unfortunate.
It does look like Ground Zero will just go for the standard 3-3 on defense, which is more common. It's more of an attack comp this Sombra, so there's no surprise there.
Yeah. We shall wait and see how that goes after this defensive round for Ground Zero. But how long will the defensive round last? Didn't last too long on Volsky, although they had a reasonable shot at point B, but it was the attack that was the real problem for Ground Zero. So maybe that's where the amends need to be made. Mindfreak slowly pushing their way forward past the statues.
And Aki's already dealt a lot of damage, up to almost 70% on his ultimate here. Mini dropping very low with that Discord orb on him.
Yeah, I mean, the Transcendence is not going to matter if it doesn't come up in time to save Nami. Mini down as well, and, well, Transcendence, it doesn't need to be invested here for Mindfreak, so it does not really look like it's going to be much of a difference for Ground Zero at all, as we see point A captured very quickly indeed.
Aki able to put out a lot of pressure that fight very early on. He must have found a really good angle there to get that Discord orb onto the right heart nice and early. So that was really the difference maker in that fight, I believe. Aki just, playing very well.
Very well indeed. And so is the rest of Mindfreak. Well, I suppose it is a lot easier when you've got a strong team around you. That's really what it seems like has been built here for Mindfreak. Last season wasn't too bad for them. They managed to make it through to playoffs, but now I think you can look further than that. Maybe even finals on the card for Mindfreak.
Let's look up for Basketball. The big shatter doesn't come up with a whole lot. Mini charging back into position, looking for a shatter of his own. The Transcendence has come out now, so Addy looking for that Graviton Surge.
I mean, that's a big force out from Ground Zero. The Transcendence coming down early. Oh no, pause! Come on! There's not the time for a pause. Oh, we're in the middle of a fight. What do you do in a situation like that? I'm sure you've been in situations like this where you're in the middle of a fight, a pause comes out. Like, are you the kind of guy that sits there, stays focused on, you keep your hand on your keyboard and mouse, and maybe your controller if you're playing Lucio, I don't know. Or do you get up, have a walk around?
I don't get up, have a walk around. I am a bit of a clown though, so I don't usually stay very focused. I usually complain because nobody likes to see a pause. Especially if I'm on the team that's aggressing, I usually complain. But
which would be Ground Zero. Mindfreak
would be complaining. Yeah, they'd definitely be complaining right now. But no, I mean, it's an awkward time for a pause, but it's not always the worst. Sometimes it can be good. Sometimes you can just suss everything out, decide what you want to do as a team. Get back on that same page, because sometimes in fights you can get dragged away. Sometimes you see a Lucio on the wall and you get excited. Yeah, and you just chase him. So I think it's good. I think it's good. Sometimes you get a pause, reset, refocus.
The thing is though, in that pause screen, you can't really see a whole lot.
No, you see Addy killing everybody because there's no Graviton Surge.
Well, let's have a look and see. Grav is been used already by Addy, but on the aggression there for Mindfreak, as we said, it doesn't seem like the pause has affected them too much. In fact, it's a full clean wipe. So what do you say about that?
I say there is a lot of time for Mindfreak to get pushing here. They are good on ultimates too. It really looks like they're going to have to set up Bus's Shadow for the next fight though. Expect August to try and get that Harmony Orb on him and go wild. Get right into Mini. Get that stun up.
Good forward position taken.
Ground Zero looking to just build that energy up on Nami before they get into this fight. Get that Graviton Surge up too.
Gonna get that 99% straight into the ground immediately, but Aki responds, and self-destruct across from Kiki a little bit on the wayside. And Shadow doesn't look like it has affected Mindfreak at all. Bus is gonna use his and to much greater effect than what Mini was able to achieve. Now comes the absolute smash from Mindfreak, and for lack of a better word, I don't know why I brought you into this one, but seems like that's exactly what has happened. They've continued their way forward, and they're continuing to put the damage in. Transcendence did come across in the meanwhile there from Ground Zero, but for all the good it's going to do, you're down 5v6, and once the Transcendence fades, of course, Mindfreak have the numbers there, they have the damage there, and well, Mini late to the party.
Yeah, again, Ground Zero committing ults, the cardinal sin, committing ults when you're down players. You can't turn the fight, you commit an ult, it's a wasted ult, so go now. They have no Transcendence for the next Graviton Surge from Addy.
4 minutes and 50 seconds as well for Mindfreak into point C.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's much to combo with it. Kiki's still out of his mech, he needs to get into that one quickly before he gets picked off. And he is managing to get back into it. A shatter out from Buzz, trying to be a bit sneaky.
Looks like it's
Wilco going for that boop too. The bomb comes from Kiki, won't be able to catch anybody though.
Unfortunately not, but it has provided the space. It allows Mindfreak to push forward, and they do catch Duboy anyway. So, Self-destruct didn't do it, but the rest of Mindfreak certainly was able to. Gus, how has he survived that long on top of the payload? Eventually he's finished off. Dalsu's got no HP. Nami's going to go down soon as well. And this is, I mean, it looks like it's going from bad to worse, really, for Ground Zero. It's just better and better and better for Mindfreak. Every single fight we see is getting cleaner and cleaner.
It's looking like a scary time bank here. Addy using the Graviton Surge very close. This is something that Signed loves to do on the side of Order, but doesn't manage to get a kill out of it. Just forces the Transcendence out. Guz comes out the other door to touch the car.
Oh, Graviton Surge comes back from the other side. This time it's Nami that's trying to get involved, but of course, Transcendence for Aki. He always has it available when Mindfreak needs it. And time for Mindfreak just to slow things down a little bit. So we'll go at 86%, Bust at 74%, so they don't want to engage this fight too early. Give them another 10 seconds though, and that is where Mindfreak are going to bring this explosion. Bust now pushing forward, he's up to 97%. Earth Shatter down though from Mini, and it's just a little bit too early for Mindfreak to deal with. That'll be a rout. Ground Zero finally having some success here on King's Row.
It was a beautiful setup for that Earth Shatter. I believe it was a money that knocked Bust right into the air across the screen. You saw him sailing across with his little parachute, and there's nothing you can do when you're a right-hand player. You're stuck in midair, you can't get your shield down on the floor. It just opened his team up to be Earth Shattered. So that was really good there from Mindfreak. Sorry, not Mindfreak, Ground Zero. And Money getting that early boot shatter combination. Showing some good signs of teamwork with this new roster.
This is the first real bit of hope that Ground Zero have had on King's Row, but it is where it tends to slow down. To point C, well, self-destruct's across. That's going to force Mini to turn, which should set it up for Buzz, but no Earth Shatter actually comes from him. So we'll go investing the sound barrier to push forward with Mindfreak. Earth Shatter there from Buzz, and it looks good. A few players on the ground. So we'll go helping out Buzz. Doesn't actually knock anyone off, but it'll keep him alive for the moment, and that is long enough. Self-destruct from Gus. No real happiness coming from that one for Ground Zero. And slowly but surely,
looks like they will be able to cap up the map with 2 minutes 18 remaining. Another, about a similar time bank to what Warriors had last map.
Yep, and we saw that turned out pretty nicely for them. Winning the map, of course.
Yep. But credit to Mavericks, they did end up stalling on that third point. They ended up getting a bit of time off the time bank. It was ending up being about 4 minutes 30 going to that third point, so they managed to get a bit off it. But really, probably they will be pretty disappointed with their first and second defense.
Yeah. Lots to look back on for Ground Zero today, but now they are staring down the barrel of a defeat. It's not over yet, but down 2-0, and Mindfreak have set a pretty threatening time on their attacking side of King's Row. We also moved to Ground Zero on the attack, which was a real struggle for them on Volskaya on the last map, so it is a struggle to really feel hopeful for Ground Zero here.
Yeah, it was a big struggle for their attack on Volskaya, unable to complete even a third of the checkpoint, the first point. I'd like to see them get aggressive here. As I mentioned before in the break, I really think that they need to be outpacing Mindfreak, you know, taking it to them a bit more. It seems like they're a bit hesitant to go in on these kills. They're a bit hesitant, a bit, you know, umming and ahhing, and that could just be the fact that they haven't played together a whole bunch as a team.
Gus onto May.
He actually has played a lot of May too.
Yeah, that could be possible.
He used to love it on Lijiang Tower on Control Center. He used to love a bit of May.
Wouldn't be too bad on King's Row.
And they have got the roster to do it. Nami is a very, very talented Zarya player as well, so can forego the Diva for these picks. But he does go back onto the Diva, unfortunately for us.
Oh well, beggars can't be choosers. Bus having a look and seeing what's going on, but needs to turn around. He's more interested in the hotel than the enemy team, and let's be honest, he doesn't want a free night in a hotel. But we'll go up here on top of the statue looking for those boobs, and oh dear, I see someone locked inside the health pack room. Looks like no one's going to go down, although Gus will be demeched in all that chaos.
August will finish him off, and Addy trades out on Nami. This is a big advantage for the side of Ground Zero now. That the primary damage dealer being Addy taken out, they should be able to get some nice space here.
And Addy's one of the slower characters to get back to this point as well for Mindfreak. You know, if Swilko goes down, he's got speed boost. If Kiki goes down, he's got the boosters, or Bust, he's got the charge. You know, there's nothing really there for Addy to actually get into this point, so he's just going to be walking the whole way. Does manage to get back in time. The recontest is here from Mindfreak. They open up with the first pick. Transcendence in just a little bit too late from Dalsu. Graviton Surge on through.
Aki's
Addy
so
and
close.
Aki Can't do anything about it. Aki, well, I guess he could have forced the Transcendence out there, but elected not to.
No, he was just a second too late on building, and he was stuck on 94% when he got stuck in that Graviton Surge, and Dalsu just flipped straight to his head and put him down. So that's unfortunate for Aki. He'll be really sad about that one. It's always awful when you're caught in a Graviton Surge as a Zenyatta, and your ult's at 99.
And maybe you miss an auto.
Or you miss an attack and you slam your desk after that.
Yeah, you're like, if I would have hit that orb, I would have had Transcendence, we would have won the fight. But not the case this time for Mindfreak. Still, it's not the end of the world. It's maybe one battle that has been lost, but the war still remains.
Yeah, the war rages on, and they'll be looking to recontest this early, trying to get 2 fights on this street phases and all.
How easy is that going to be for Mindfreak? Well, also being built up. Kiki could engage here with the self-destruct, open the door for Bus if he gets the Earth Shatter up shortly, but there's Graviton Surge for Addy, of course. In fact, it's probably going to be a 6 ult fight for Mindfreak if they really need it. It is the self-destruct to engage, but nothing else following it just yet. Outside of the rally, good sound barrier down from Swilko. Will keep Mindfreak fairly healthy, and now Earth Shatter is online. Transcendence is out, so is Graviton Surge from Addy. Everything is being thrown in, indeed, from Mindfreak. It will be the 6 ult fight, and Bus finally, with that 6th ult, that said 6th ult, will be having the difference. It's Mindfreak, it took them everything, literally cost them everything that fight, but they do win it.
And that Shatter is a very good value last ult too, because end of the fight, the enemy Reinhardt's shield is probably dwindled down to nothing, and that's when you're, as a Reinhardt player, you know, you're pretty happy because you can't really fluff a Shadow into a shield when there's no shield to be around.
So you talked about potentially getting 2 fights on point B for Mindfreak. Well, they've achieved that already, even if they lose the next one.
Interesting that they're backing off here. They're trying to play this corner where they have the high ground advantage. You see Swilko sitting on at the moment, but Graviton Surge does come out for only the side of Ground Zero Gaming, and Addy manages to unfortunately take himself down. I think though he was trying to reset there because of Kiki already out of mech.
I would say for Mindfreak, they were pretty aware that they didn't really have any ultimates. If they could have, you know, bought another 10 seconds or so, maybe Aki gets Transcendence up, maybe they can survive through the rest of the fight with that and build their ults during the fight. But run down really by Ground Zero very nicely indeed, and we're in with about a similar time, about 4.5 minutes into Phase C.
This is exactly what we saw on the side of Mindfreak's attack too, so props to Ground Zero. They've come out fighting on this second half.
Where we need to see the tempo swing back to Mindfreak.
Mini has the key ult this fight. If he can get in with this Earth Shadow, if we can get a nice boot from Money to set up like we saw on the defense, it could be a big time in here. Oh, Gusto almost going down the hole there.
I thought he actually didn't have any boosters because he come from the top. Anyway, self-destruct through from Kiki won't result in a whole lot. Now Bus under pressure, the shield is low. There is the Earth Shatter. What an Earth Shatter indeed. Mini, you spoke about it, Smash. You said he's got the key ultimate. And that key certainly fit the lock.
Yeah, it did. And again, managing to hold that Earth Shatter until late in the fight where Bus's shield was very low. They managed to withstand the aggression from the bomb from Kiki coming out. And now it's looking rough. They're going to have to stagger onto this point.
He's at 96%.
He needs this Graviton Surge too. The Diva Bomb is in combination with him. And it gets eaten. Kiki eats Nami's ult, the key ult of the fight, and it's gone.
Yeah, Addy's though, however, does connect, and it's unfortunate for Ground Zero. They were so close, but now they are so very far away. Earth Shatter down as well, connects to a few of the Ground Zero players.
Yeah, Kiki really bailing his boys out there with that Graviton Surge. There was the support ults to deal with it, but you never know. Sometimes in those Graviton Surges, you can get killed through the support ult, so very well done there by Kiki. Ground Zero back to the drawing board with not a lot of ults to show for it too, so this might take at least 1 or 2 fights to build up those ults to get across the line.
1 or 2 fights that Ground Zero can't really afford. They're now within 30 seconds of the time bank that Mindfreak have got, so whatever the scenario is, even if Ground Zero win this fight somehow, they will go through with a deficit into the time banks.
And yeah, you saw in that previous match of the day, you never want to be in that deficit really.
And not how substantial it could well be here for Ground Zero, if indeed they actually even end up capping at this point. Kiki's doing so much damage, look at that, Nami goes down, now Dalsu the focus. The Transcendence is forced out by Aki, but that is more than enough for Mindfreak to win the fight. Looks like actually Sound Barrier went in there as well.
Unfortunately, they doubled up there. Swilko and Aki, not the cleanest communication, I believe. So doubling up could be costly, but Nami with only 40% Graviton Surge Charge means that there's all chances that Aki builds that Transcendence back up.
Yeah, especially when Addy is going to have Grab in this next fight, and that's just going to be 3 shots in for Aki.
Let's see if Mindfreak engage again with this Kiki Diva Bomb. They've liked to do this a lot this map so far, and he's at the right angle to do it.
He's just being bounced around everywhere. Bus pushing on forward. He's got the Earth Shatter as well, so plenty available for Mindfreak. And the longer this fight goes, the better. Transcendence early from Dalsu. Ground Zero need to make something of this, otherwise you know what is going to be following that, and it'll be the Graviton Surge from Addy. There's nothing that Ground Zero can do against it, and there it is. Addy gets it down. No eat this time from Gus. Self-destruct to follow from Kiki. Doesn't do a whole lot. He actually goes and loses the mech somehow. Not sure what's going on there. Regardless, Transcendence across it has been built indeed by Aki, but Nami still hasn't used that Graviton Surge. Now it'll go out. Now is the chance for Ground Zero to finally knock over Mindfreak. They need to get it done here. If they don't now, it's probably not going to happen. But with a minute on the clock, they still go into the time bank with a massive deficit. Bus over onto Wrecking Ball, but he will not be able to get to the point in time. That all kind of came down to the few seconds that it took Nami to get the Graviton Surge up, and it allowed Aki even to get the trans off earlier than perhaps needed to.
Aki really using that Transcendence for more tempo. He probably didn't track the ultimate on Nami well enough, and he really wants that one back. But unfortunately, as soon as Bus gets taken out, Mini able to get the Earth Shadow down, and that cleans up the fight. But it was a really nice Diva Bomb from Gus on top of the cart to try and stop the aggression. We saw Dalsu use his Transcendence, which meant that Addy had that free Graviton Surge, but the side of Mindfreak couldn't follow up on that Graviton Surge because that Diva Bomb was there to stop it. They also got the beat drop from Money as well. So even though Dalsu used the Transcendence in a more aggressive manner, they had the support ults to back him up. Whereas the case of Mindfreak, when Aki used that Transcendence for tempo, they didn't have the Diva Bomb, they didn't have the beat to back him up if the Grav came out.
Oh, well, regardless, we do have a pretty substantial advantage there for Mindfreak. 1 minute and 22 seconds. That's maybe enough for actually 2 extra fights, right? When you look at 1 minute on the clock here, do you see just 1 fight coming out for Ground Zero? Maybe there's 2. Maybe there's time for 2. But there's certainly a lot more there for Mindfreak, so a lot more chances to get point A capped up.
Yeah, with the 3-3 meta, you really look at 1 minute, you're looking at one really clean fight where you get to set up all your positioning and stuff that you want to do, and then you're looking at a overtime touch type fight. Whereas 2 minutes 22, I mean, you're looking at 3 fights.
Three
nice fights, yeah.
So it all comes down to the extra seconds that Mindfreak was able to gain. But still winnable for Ground Zero, and it's pretty much a must-win as well. If they don't cap point A here, even then, it could be a draw, but that's still a Series 1 for Mindfreak, so definitely work to be done here for Ground Zero, and they're doing it well. Bus goes low, but so does Mini, so both teams have to back away just a little bit. Bus hiding in the cutout, and it's a trade, it's an exchange of D-Mechs.
Mini's shield going very low here, but Nami manages to break the shield first, and now it's everybody piles on, and Bus goes down, and this is going to be the first point for the side of Ground Zero.
Yeah, Swilko's going to buy a couple of extra seconds there, but really nothing to write home about. That's what you need to be doing.
This is where the danger can come. The next fight is so important because it will be in overtime, and those overtime spawns are very long. So if Ground Zero can get some good aggression, maybe get this mini Earth Shatter off and win the fight there, they could end up going to the last point.
I've seen it before. The ultimate's slightly advantaged for Ground Zero, so they may want to force the issue here, but if they give time for Aki and Addy to get their respective ultimates up on Mindfreak, you know, it is just the one fight that Mindfreak need to win, so they'd love to win it just under this gate.
Mini again holding the keys to the kingdom. If he can get this Earth Shatter off, he'll go a long way on this push.
Earth Shatter has been pretty impactful on both sides.
It gets cancelled by August.
Well done from August, but Bus goes down, so does August. It doesn't matter. Transcendence is through from Aki, but it's too late. This could be the overinvestment from Mindfreak if they don't turn it around. A good eat from Kiki will keep it in the balance, but still Ground Zero have the numbers there, and they're going to continue to push forward. That's the worst possible scenario for Mindfreak. They invest their 2 big ultimates, and they lose the fight.
Very well done there by August to cancel that Shatter. Everything you can ask for, they cancel the Shatter, they eat the Graviton Surge, but Bus just playing maybe a little too aggressive there, left himself open to getting killed through, you know, the defensive abilities, and now it's going to be tough. Ground Zero, they're really in the driver's seat here. They have Gus's Diva Bomb, they have the beat drop as well. They can really take their time to try and build up another ult Maybe they try and build the Transcendence on Dalsu. There's no pressure on them to push for time.
Yeah, and even then they've already got to a very defendable target. Self-destruct through from Kiki won't have an impact. Gus with his on top of the payload. Again, August 9th goes down early. Bus gets a good Earth Shatter, and that is going to reap some benefits. Aki gets two. Swilko another. Nami's going to try and turn it around if he can build up that Graviton Surge. Maybe there's something to be said, but even then, I think the rest of the team is down. Doesn't matter. He didn't get it anyway. And Mindfreak will finally get the wipe that they were looking for, but it's a little bit later than they really would have liked.
Yeah, it was a really good play coming out on the side of Ground Zero to get that beat drop off on the high ground to counteract the aggression shown from the rally from August. But again, there was just too many ultimates to overcome on the side of Ground Zero. So, but they have managed to get 98 meters and on the 4th point. So capping first point was really nice. But getting that far again, it means you can probably get 2 holds off on the second defense, which is exactly where you want to be. The cart's in a very tricky situation. Getting around that corner can be quite difficult.
Well, I think now we definitely have a map on our hands.
We definitely do. This could go down to the wire. Personally, I'd like to see Ground Zero take this one. They played very well coming back from the break.
If Ground Zero take this one, then we're at 2-1. Still a salvageable series.
Yeah.
If they lose, obviously series over. But we know that it is going to be a win or a loss at this point. You know, there's obviously no chance of a draw here, which is great.
Yeah, the draws can be quite anticlimactic, but you won't see one here. And Mavericks have looked, not Mavericks, sorry, Ground Zero Gaming have looked a lot better. The aggression they've shown, they've been able to back up Mini. Mini's been able to get some nice shatters off, and they've been able to get kills off Mini's shatter, which is important. On Busan, he was getting those shatters off, but they won't be able to get kills off them. So now they're able to follow up. It's been a lot better looking from Ground Zero.
A start there for Nami, 5%, easy peasy off the right click. 5% can be all the difference. That grab up before Addy, it might well be the team fight win that they need. But it's going to have to be a few from Ground Zero. That is a great start. Money gets picked off, and I'm not sure how, but Kiki just charges at him. And, well, you have to expect the rest of this fight should go the way of Mindfreak. They'll set themselves, heal up just a little bit. Bus gets picked off. How has that happened? Mini traded. Still alive here for Ground Zero, but falling apart as we speak. Bus, you just can't be going down in a situation like that.
Yeah, Bus isolating himself a little bit, but there's still an advantage for Mindfreak. With that closer spawn and Gusto, or Guz out of mech, they can reinforce here. He's very low on the side of Gus, actually. He just gets the armor back. So, you know, this fight isn't over.
No, certainly not, as we reset ourselves for yet another attempt. Gus is behind. He's actually on his own. He's getting dueled by Swilko, and of course we know Lucio versus Baby Diva. Well, it's probably not going to be too fun there for Gus, as he is dropped. Dewboy as well got forced into Kiki, and they're all said and done really for Ground Zero at this point. 4v6, it's not a fight that you really want to take. You don't want to get wiped here, because it does mean, like you say, you might not get those 2 fights in point B.
Looks like they are going to try and contest here with this Graviton Surge.
Well, they attempted, but of course an answering Transcendence from Aki. Bust is low, but he's healed up fairly quickly.
Oh, the Transcendence just comes out too late from Dalsu to heal up Mini, and the Graviton Surge committed from Addy, and Nami electrifies him down, but it will probably be the end of this fight for the side of Ground Zero. Guz committing the Diva Bomb a little bit late. Again, the ill discipline on Ground Zero costing them a lot. You just wasted a few ults.
It's not the end of the road just yet. 30 seconds for Mindfreak, so we are 100% going to be going into the overtime. They're not going to get there before this 30 seconds ticks away. So Ground Zero, they just need one fight. They just need one fight win, but where do they get it from when you look at what's available to them? Well, there's the Earth Shatter, but that's there for Mindfreak and more.
I don't think Ground Zero are going to be able to get 2 fights off here, so they really need to set up a fight that works for them the best. Maybe wait, take the positioning, but they are looking to rush into it. This could be a mistake on the side of Ground Zero.
Who knows, maybe it catches Mindfreak off guard, waiting to see what the elusive ultimate is going to be that's going to find the win here for Ground Zero. If anything, well, self-destruct through from Kiki. Provides the space that they need. Earth Shatters out on both fronts, but neither really having a huge shattering impact. Nonetheless, Ground Zero are looking to be routed, and as you said, no 2 fights available for Ground Zero. This will be Mindfreak to win the map. Ground Zero aren't going to get back in time.
Oh, and you look at Ground Zero and they have so many ults just close or just coming up to. If they took that 5 seconds extra to set themselves up into better positions, maybe they just get the ultimates they need to win the round.
Maybe not. As Mindfreak win the series in their own right. 3-0 now for them, and a chance to make it 4-0, which has been a fairly elusive target so far this week. A solid fight from Ground Zero, and much better than what we saw on Volskaya, and even I would argue on Busan as well, but still just not quite enough to stand tall against Mindfreak today.
Yeah, they definitely looked better in this map. They really looked to take it to him again. As I said, Mini's getting a lot more value out of his ultimate, which you'd love to see, but there really shows a little bit of inexperience in the calling on Ground Zero. Sorry, they're still just wasting those ultimates a little bit too much, not getting the value that they need. But there are really nice signs out of them. I think they'll be pleased with the fact that there are those signs, and the stuff that they have to work on is quite obvious.
That's generally a pretty good situation, because if it's an obvious thing to work on, it's usually pretty easy to fix. Or I suppose at least 9 times out of 10, the problems that you know are definitely better than the problems that you don't. So at least you know where to go forward into next week for Ground Zero. But we still have to think about our next map as well. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. It has been a pretty rare occasion that we've actually seen anyone go clean through a series this week. So you know, we may well see Ground Zero being able to nab a point back off of Mindfreak on Dorado.
Yeah, I think Atletico is the only team to go 4-0 this week.
Yep.
Both Warriors and Order failing to get that clean 4-0. So maybe, just maybe, Mindfreak could be sitting at the top of the table with Atletico, or could Ground Zero play spoiler?
Well, you look at the dominance that was shown by Warriors last series until Dorado. Like, it just totally changed. And that's kind of the same sort of situation I feel like we've got here between Mindfreak and Ground Zero, where Mindfreak have been the ones that have really been showing a lot of dominance, but that could certainly switch on its head in our next map. Really good signs, though, like you said, for Ground Zero. In a way, like there's a little bit obviously there for them. Certainly excellent signs for Mindfreak. They're going head and shoulders above Ground Zero at this point, and you know, Mindfreak's even looking like they might be a top 4 contender, because really it's all a little bit wishy-washy toward the top end of things. Obviously, we know Order. We probably suspect Warriors. We're not so sold yet on Sydney Drop Bears. Haven't seen enough from them. And then there's teams like Ground Zero, like you theorized. They're not really standing up tall to Mindfreak. So then who is next behind? Okay, let's say for the sake of argument, we've got Order, we've got Warriors in the top 2. But who's behind that? I mean, right now, in my mind, it's looking like Mindfreak.
Yeah, it is looking like Mindfreak and the Sydney Drop Bears are those two accompanying them. But I know that at the start of the season, I spoke to Mindfreak players, especially Kiki and Swilko, and they said that top 4 is kind of their goal. Top 2 is, you know, their dream situation. Yeah.
Top 2, well, that'll be a difficult run for them, but I think top 4 is a very achievable goal for Mindfreak, and it's great to see this roster going from strength to strength. You know, last season we said, okay, their goal is to stay in Overwatch Contenders, to stay out of relegations. They did that. They came in 6th place. They got absolutely wrecked in playoffs, but to be fair, expected. Now they have that those additions to this roster, which you may well call upgrades to the roster, and then the objective shifts a little bit. It shifts higher for Mindfreak, and based on the results so far today, it's looking like a real achievable goal for Mindfreak. But who am I to judge just yet? It is only one game we've seen. We haven't even seen the whole game just yet. Ground Zero will try to stage one more offense into Ground Zero.
Yeah, and if I'm Mindfreak, I'm pleased with the way August has played this series. He's shown to be a pretty solid Brig player. He set up a few nice shatters with Bus. He's, you know, cancelled that ult of Mini, which is always flashy, and that was kind of the question mark coming into the series. If August could adapt to playing the Brigitte role, if he was practicing it very well, you know, how that was going to fit into the team. And if I'm Mindfreak, I'm happy with the way that's worked out.
Just one piece of the puzzle that's falling into place. Definitely a lot more that are falling into place as well for Mindfreak.
And it looks like Ground Zero are coming out on a DPS-based composition. Hopefully they're not... No. Looks like Juboy is rolling out in that Pharah and the Widowmaker on Nami. Nami has been known for being a very potent Widowmaker. He kind of got noticed by the teams as being a very, very like powerful Widowmaker on the ladder. So hopefully we can see him click a few heads here.
Hopefully for Ground Zero. Well, that is
looks
the
like
objective, but Mindfreak are not too interested in poking or peeking.
No, it looks like they're bunkering up in this house around the fire.
Duboy not going to have too much luck from that angle. Better off going through the front door.
Lucky on the front door.
Oh,
Aki actually finding a nice alternate fire fireball there, and Kiki going for blood, manages to one-clip Duboy out of the sky.
Yeah, money wasn't there. Duboy wasn't getting the heals.
Oh, quite unfortunate. Now Kiki smells blood in the water and he goes forward. scares them away. A good hold from Mindfreak.
Indeed, but made quite substantially easier by Aki getting the pick onto Dalsu, and that's not going to happen every fight. So would like to see what the 6v6 is going to look like here, and when does Mindfreak really pull the trigger? Well, they're straight out of the doors, and they find a kill onto Mini. So seems like it's working pretty nicely here for Mindfreak. Their focus fire, and straight away they retreat like a hermit crab.
Hasn't gone exactly to plan for Ground Zero, and that's a minute 30 off the clock already, and there's no ultimates being built. If you're Mindfreak, you're kind of confused. They're just waiting for the damage to happen, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Waiting for the ultimates perhaps to come up. It's going to be a lot more difficult for Mindfreak to come out of that doorway if Duboy has got the rocket barrage.
Mindfreak kind of exposed themselves, and there's the first headshot from Nami. The ultimate from Kiki comes out at the same time as Mini goes into Primal, but it looks like he's been locked down in that room. Gus gets a trade onto August. Mini falling very low, goes down to Kiki, but it looks like the trade is going the way of Ground Zero.
Earth Shatter in there as well from Bus, but it's going to be way too lacking at this point. Even if he got a 6-man Shatter, I don't know if the follow-up would have been there for Ground Zero to do a whole lot with it. The beauty of that fight is Ground Zero don't really need to invest a whole lot at all. You've still got the big power play ultimate of the Rocket Barrage for Duboy, and Nami obviously hitting the opening connection. Starting to ramp up a little bit on the Widowmaker. So for Mindfreak, looks like they're going to stick with the Winston. Stick with the Reinhardt. Bus on that one, not swapping over to Winston to contest the high ground too much. So if they get knocked off here by a concussion blast, then see you later. Going to be all on the floor.
Nami unlucky there not to take Swilko's head off. Looks like the aggression will come in with the rally on the side of Mindfreak, going straight onto the cart, pushing Mini off. They know they don't have the Primal. Duboy comes out with the barrage, but it's matrixed by Kiki. Very well done there. And that will be the end of this push for the side of Ground Zero.
It will indeed. Now you might be getting thoughts as Ground Zero. Okay, do we swap back to 3-3 here?
Well, they don't have any important ultimates. See, the Valkyrie isn't exactly the best ultimate, so you probably could swap off. You would keep the Diva Bomb anyway, but they look like they're committing onto this DPS composition.
Is it going to work? That is the question. Nami trying desperately to find a headshot, but it's going to be an elusive one this fight. Mindfreak being too quick. Well, a nice bio nade through. It's 3, but again, too late.
Especially when you know that the side of Ground Zero doesn't... Yeah, we will see the swap now. The side of Ground Zero didn't have that ultimate on Mini. It's very easy for this 3-3 composition just to run at him. As soon as that leap is used, he's kind of a sitting duck. And unfortunately for Nami, just dropping into Bus's hammer there is not the ideal play for a Widowmaker.
Graviton Surge from Addy. Starts the fight off on the right foot for Mindfreak, and it really wasn't much of a fight, to be honest. It was just kind of like Mindfreak steamrolling through Ground Zero. Hurt him up and knock him down.
Now we see this spawn hold initiated. This is quite a popular area to spawn hold. It's quite easy to keep them in the spawn as those exits are quite narrow choke points. Waiting for this shield to go down, and you'll see Bus's Shadow collects 3. Nami seems to be the focus. He ends up going down. The side of Ground Zero, they do commit the Primal Rage though.
Yeah, but it's not going to great effect. Money, in fact, went quite low. Had to... Oh, Mini, rather. Fancy that. Having Mini and Money on the same team. I can't believe they've done this to me. But Mini has had to fall back, even despite having the Primal Rage up. And we're back into Spawn. And like you say, Spawn Camp, it is continuing for Mindfreak.
And Mini has chosen the Widowmaker. He's quite popular, well, quite known to do this when they are getting spawn camped or, you know, situation isn't going too well. Just pick out the Widowmaker, and often it ends up in a kill, but not this time. Back to the Reinhardt.
He wanted to swap off of the Winston there.
Yeah, back to the Reinhardt.
So, does go on to Reinhardt, and, well, that'll make life maybe a little easier for Ground Zero, but now, minute 39, they've just a lot of time.
Gus finding himself in the face of Kiki is not a spot you want to be. Kiki loves those Diva duels.
Yeah, especially when he's got a Zenyatta Orb, and Gus did not. Follow-up coming through here from Mindfreak. Gus with the self-destruct, not really going to do a whole lot there. Graviton Surge is going to go through again from Addy. He's charging them very quickly indeed. And that is being put to good use by Mindfreak. Earth Shatter as well to boot from Bus just as he goes down. It was a good connection. Mini will get one as well, and Sound Barrier does go down just a little bit too late to save Mini. That could be a crucial seconds that might have cost Ground Zero the fight there, but regardless, they do get their own Graviton Surge down, and, well, they do end up using it quite nicely indeed.
Risky Earth Shatter there from Bus. Sometimes you can look like a bit of a fool if you get pinned by the enemy Reinhardt into his team. He tries for the Shadow to counterplay it, but doesn't end up buying himself enough space to live. He goes down, and this is some more push for Ground Zero Gaming. They'll be very happy with this. But they need to keep it continuing. They are
Yeah.
quite dry on ults. They need this fight to go a long time, and they need to get this next set of ultimates up. They're also getting close, but just don't know if it's going to be enough.
It's a big self-destruct from Kiki. That's going to look to get the D-Mech onto Gus. It does, who's forced to the courthouse. It's under some pressure here. So too is Kiki. Not a duel you want to be taking, but that sound barrier comes down just in time for Kiki, not in time for Bust, however. Money finishing that kill off, and this is the important dying seconds for Ground Zero as we head into the overtime. Very nice to be seeing them getting the fight win here. It keeps them alive on Dorado.
Yeah, there should be enough time for Mindfreak to come in and contest this one, but it is getting quite dicey. This overtime push situation. Bus coming out very alone at the moment. Might be able to get punished here.
Potentially looking for something fancy. Graviton surge out by both sides. You could hear it ringing across. That is a huge Earth Shatter onto Bus, but the Transcendence was there from Aki, and no harm done to Mindfreak, who keep themselves alive. And now in a 3v6 is Ground Zero. It looks like this is where the payload is going to stall. So round one is complete, and the push from Ground Zero probably not what they wanted it to be.
No, not nearly as far as they would have liked, but they show some sign of life there, taking some nice fights, getting some fortunate picks, I guess, on the side of Ground Zero Gaming. It was good to see Nami really isolated Kiki in that last fight and built so much grav charge off him. Poor Kiki didn't really know where he was going after that Diva Bomb to initiate.
Well, I'd say you'd be feeling pretty confident with that as Mindfreak.
Yeah, definitely. If you're Mindfreak, I mean, you're expecting to kind of... In Dorado, you're kind of expecting... If you get the first point, you expect to get the second point. The second point is a lot easier to attack than the first point. So if you are getting that first point, you want to be getting the second point too.
Didn't happen, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately, Ground Zero not leaving themselves enough time to get that second point, I think.
Yeah, look, it's not like there isn't a lot of choke points, though, that Ground Zero can defend. You know, you look at the first major one, which is sort of like the bridge in point A, and then kind of the courtyard itself in point A. So there's a couple of big ones. You're going to need to get a big hold on one of those two parts of point A, I think, for Ground Zero here. If point A inevitably does then get capped, okay, at least you've taken a lot of the time away from Mindfreak.
Yeah, definitely. You want to take at least 3 minutes, I guess, off on point A. That'd be the goal, I guess. It would be interesting to see if Kiki stays on this Orisa. So there is a thing where you can... Oh, okay. He's not going to do it. Where you can use the halt to pull people off the high ground from spawn, and it's quite fancy. But it looks like he will go back to the Zarya, and we'll just have a 3-3 composition with some early poke here on the side of Ground Zero. Looking to get some early charge on that Zarya player. This is an older strat, maybe Season 3 2018, where teams would hold very close on this red building, and then they'd get a second fight on the well. So.
Yeah, but it can go horribly awry if you get wiped here. Army's very low. Mini also getting knocked down quite a bit, but the continual dive in by individuals from Ground Zero, one by one, is kind of keeping Mindfreak at bay.
Yeah, and this is time off the clock, and this is Ground Zero's goal here. They're not essentially looking to hold the whole map here because the spawn is so close on the side of Mindfreak, but they are looking to take a lot of time off the clock.
They already are taking a lot of time. That's about 30 seconds gone. Duvoy, however, getting picked off. It might be the difference maker. That's a decent Earth Shatter down from Mini, however, to turn things around. And he trades it back. Actually, it's Swilko that gets the kill onto Mini with a punch right into his face. And they got the D-Mech. See a Transcendence from Aki. Oh, well, it's a little bit too early, isn't it? Nami with the Graviton Surge. You talk about this. It looks like a Graviton Surge has gone back the way from Addy. That was perhaps an over-investment.
Yeah, Mini getting booped over Bus's head. Bus didn't really track where he went, and he ends up getting Earth Shattered in the back, leading to a fight win for Ground Zero. I'd call that a fight win just because they took so much time off the clock. There's already a minute 30 off the clock, and they're going to be able to get a nice solid fight here at the well. Fortunately, did invest a lot of ultimates there, so it will be a rough contest. There's a rally and a beat drop on the side of Mindfreak. That's what they'll be looking to use to get the advantage this fight.
Self-destruct just coming up for Gus, and it's going to be thrown out immediately as well. Won't connect for too much damage at all there onto Mindfreak, and now we look and turn our attention to Bus and see what his Earth Shatter is going to be able to provide. So far, so good for Ground Zero, though, as Bus almost again gets isolated. The Shatter goes down, but so too does Bus, and the follow-up, well, it's there. Addy is going to at least be able to trade Mini out. Sound barrier down, though, from Ground Zero. will mean that they can push quite aggressively into the Mindfreak roster, and you do start to get a bit of a sense here that it is looking similar to Warriors and Legacy, where the underdog team, the team that wasn't really favoured going into Dorado, is actually putting up a pretty damn good fight.
Yeah, Dorado's been a bit of an upset map this week. Order losing it to Drop Bears, Warriors losing it to Legacy. But Mindfreak will have the ultimate advantage coming into this fight too. They have the Diva Bomb and they have the Graviton Surge nearly ready to go, so interesting to see how they use it. They are one clean fight win off capturing this point.
Clean fight win indeed.
So we see the stalemate, the GOAT stalemate. Everyone's just poking up for a little bit of ultimate charge here. The first Graviton Surge comes out, will answer the second. Bus going incredibly low, but manages to survive. And again, we see 6 ultimates for no kills. The late Diva Bomb comes out, manages to collect 1 on the side of Ground Zero, and this is a fight win for them again. They've kept the first 2 fight picks. They get the Brick and the Zarya out early, and they're looking really solid on this hold.
Gates have opened up. Ground Zero, it did cost them a lot that fight. They really put everything that they had available into it, and it's just rally right now for Dewboy that's there to talk about. The Mindfreak, there's, I don't know, a little bit more coming up maybe with Wilco and Sound Barrier there, but this is really coming down to the wire. Push comes to shove right now. One more fight. Ground Zero wins this, and they at least get a map out of today. At least they can say we've gotten something done, achieved something.
And if Ground Zero track this well, they'll know that they can go really aggressive with this rally. They do, and they go really aggressive. Bus is dislocated into a position where you won't want to be, and Mini and Bus both trade at the same time. Now Swilko comes out with a beat drop, and it seems like anybody's game at this point.
Dalsu has Transcendence. He's got that one up. That is a huge, huge ultimate that is going to be in the back pocket now for Ground Zero. Holding on to it as well. The longer this fight lasts without him using Transcendence, the better this is going to look for Ground Zero, as we now also see Self-Destruct coming online for Gus, Sound Barrier coming online for Money, and Graviton Surge. That's the one that they need. Nami throws that straight in. Earth Shatter is good. Is it good enough? There'll be a pick surely off of that charge. Mini's gone chasing away. Maybe isolates himself out of the fight, but he does inevitably get the kill onto Aki. But has he left his teammates out to dry? It looks like they might well have, as Kiki gets one with the self-destruct, follows up onto Mini as well as he comes back into the fight. And Swilko also chiming in with a kill. It was just not quite enough for Ground Zero. A very, very solid attempt, but Mindfreak will push on through, and point A is theirs.
Oh, we thought they had it all. It all looked so good for Ground Zero. Unfortunately, Mini catching the Zenyatta in Transcendence there on that pin. So he tried to time it out so he'd pin the Zenyatta and kill him. It didn't end up happening. Left his team vulnerable to the Bus Earth Shatter.
You leave yourself vulnerable to a Bus Earth Shatter, and he's probably going to totally wreck you. So yes, you reap what you sow in that sense, but up on the high ground is Ground Zero. Swilko's just hanging around on the walls. Not going to be doing too much just yet in this fight, looking for boops maybe later on in the piece. But look, it's a fair bit of time actually for Ground Zero, all things considered, and there is another Shatter Bust. He's coming up with the goods again. Mini down, Dewboy as well. Transcendence, it's just not going to matter here for Ground Zero at all, is it? Nami falls. The rest of Ground Zero are really non-factors at this point.
I mentioned at the start of the map, August was looking good on that Brig, and there is more evidence for that. The Shatter into, or the Bash into Shatter combination from Bus and August has been lovely today, and you know, that was just another example of it. It's such an easy combo to pull off. If you can get the external Zarya bubble out so that their Reinhardt isn't protected, you can really get big value off that and help your Rein hit these massive shatters.
Now this is definitely Mindfreak's round to lose. They're coming up on 4 ultimates with Aki, very close to Transcendence. Ground Zero, really, they're going to be hoping that something huge is going to come off of this self-destruct. Nami now has Graviton Surge as well, but it's probably going to come a little bit too late. Kiki's already dropped a Mini. Nami still holding on to it, finally will throw it out there, and it connects onto quite a few. But again, as I mentioned, Aki has Transcendence, and that is going to keep everyone on Mindfreak fairly healthy indeed. If not that, Sound Barrier coming through from Ground Zero. Maybe it'll turn things around alongside the Transcendence from here. But Mindfreak are finding the picks that they need. Earth Shatter from Mini isn't going to connect. It doesn't go through the shield that Bust holds up in front of them. And while this is a prolonged fight, it's a prolonged fight that is favouring Mindfreak.
Jubo's going to come in with the rally here, but it's going to be a day late and $1 short as the players from Ground Zero are just getting picked off one by one. Unless this Diva Bomb comes up, trumps, it doesn't. It's still 6v5 now. Gus out of the mech. The
Another grab.
Surge comes out from Addy. Nami can't get his up, and this looks like it will be the end of the road for Ground Zero in this series.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it. The Graviton Surge really was the final nail in the coffin, and it's going to be Mindfreak that gets the 4-0 over Ground Zero today. And they put themselves toward the top of the standings at the end of week 1. A good performance, a very good performance indeed from Mindfreak. Got a little bit closer there in the second half on Kings Row and Dorado, but we got the job done, and I'm feeling pretty happy for Mindfreak there.
Yeah, you're probably sweating bullets on that back end of that series, but it looked okay. The first half obviously was a lot easier. I think that there was maybe a little bit of miscommunication, nerves, excitement, whatever from Ground Zero Gaming, but they ended up coming a lot stronger after the break, and that's good to see. That's a positive for them as well. But Mindfreak, they expected probably to take the series win here, and they've done it. They've managed to get 4-0 as well, which map differential is lovely. So it's good for the side of Mindfreak.
Yeah, definitely. It's great early signs, but it's still not enough to say, okay, they're going to be pretty comfortably within the top 4 or pretty comfortably into playoffs. We still need to see kind of how they match up against the other teams. But yeah, definitely looking good from the outset. But you see week 2s, week 3s, those kinds of things tend to help us shape our opinions of these teams. I mean, we were so excited about Legacy after week 1 of last season, and then look how that eventuated. They didn't even make it through into playoffs. So things could definitely change here for Mindfreak, but I don't think I'm getting too far ahead of myself in saying that I do feel as though they probably are a team that's going to be sort of challenging for a 3rd or a 4th spot. Again, to me, kind of depends on where Sydney Drop Bears do sit. I'm finding it a little bit more difficult to read Sydney Drop Bears than I think for Mindfreak. I think we kind of know what we're going to get in a way from Mindfreak, but from Sydney Drop Bears, still a little bit up in the air.
Yeah, that Sydney Drop Bears Mindfreak matchup I think will be similar to the Warriors Order matchup. I think it will be incredibly close, and it will kind of decide how the top 4 looks. I'm interested to see how Ground Zero bounce back from this, though. They are a young roster. I mean, 3 Mavericks players from last season, all very young in age, but I think there are some positive sides from this, so I don't think they should be too disheartened by this loss.
Yeah, certainly not, but there has been a couple of matches that we have been able